Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled The Planet X System, Destroyer of Star Systems. Now, as I have detailed in many previous articles, the evidence that the Planet X system has invaded the solar system and that both the Sun and the Earth, and most likely all the planets in the solar system, are now hosting and thus being drained of energy by these objects is overwhelming. There are by now many hundreds, if not thousands, of photographs of these objects within the Sun's corona. And you may look at Article 116 entitled Planet X Objects, Unbelievable Evidence and Size for more details. These objects are making connections with the Sun and drawing energy from the Sun. It is obvious that the Sun is getting increasingly weaker as a result of these objects' presence in the solar system. You may look at Article 195 entitled Stellar Cores in the Dying Sun for more details. The evidence that they have attached themselves to the Earth is also overwhelming, and you may look at Article 243 entitled Earth hosting at least 3 Planet X system objects. In addition, these objects come in many different sizes. Some are larger than the Sun, and some appear to be about the same size as the Earth or even smaller. And you can see one of these largest ones, one of the largest objects ever observed, appears to be about 3 times the size of the Sun. It is very close to the Sun. We can see the plasma being ejected by the Sun, draped across the object. So the object has to be very close to the Sun. So we can do a size comparison. It appears to be about 3 times larger than the Sun. Now, in Article 116, I actually drew this illustration of the different sizes of these larger stellar cores. So we know that we have at least these 6, although most likely we have many more than these objects in the Sun's corona, or at least we have many more large objects than these 6. Now we also have many of these smaller ones, and these can be seen in images like the stereo ahead EUVI 195 image we see here. This one's from 2017. We see these objects here. These spots here are these objects, and we see some of them there, and we see them here as well. So this is an expanded view of this side of the Sun's corona. So we can see them in close-up here, and they appear to be clusters of smaller stellar cores. They are so small they would be about the same size as the Earth, or perhaps even smaller. Now here we have another one from one of the stereo EUVI images, and this is of the bottom part of the Sun, and we can see one of these small stellar cores connecting to the Sun's surface. You can see the type of connection that they make, and this appears to be a cluster of objects. They seem to cluster around a central object that emits bright light. So they seem not only to be attracted to the Sun, but to be attracted to each other and even to cluster. And this image is from 1996, August 6, 1996, and we can see very small stellar cores in the Sun's corona. We can see how large the Sun's corona was then, much larger than it is now. And we can see very small little dark spots, and these indicate the presence of stellar cores. And we can see some of them here. They appear to be dark spots enveloped in a cloud that emits the same light that we can see in the Sun's corona here. That's why it appears to be green. But it also seems to be almost raised above the background because it's a toroid-shaped cloud around a spherical object. You can see one of these here, one of the larger ones. You can see the dark object and the toroid shape envelope or atmosphere that the object has gained or has at the moment. They seem to actually gain this sort of atmosphere, possibly from the Sun's corona. There are many more here. There's another one and another one. Wherever we have these dark spots and a cloud of light emitting material around it, we have some more of these objects. So many of these objects were present in the sun's corona already in 1996. Now, since only stellar cores positioned along the sun's eastern and western limb can be seen in these images, and since it is almost impossible to see those in front of the sun, it should quickly become obvious that these that observe must be a small sample of what must really be there. So in fact, this appears to be a huge system with possibly thousands of members, with most appearing to be small and thus planetary sized. You may look at article 54 entitled "The Planet X System is Here and is Huge" for more details. However, in recent years, very large stellar cores have been observed in the sun's corona as well, although not in these huge numbers. However, since at least 6 have been observed, there are likely to be 3 to 10 times that number within the solar system. In addition, newer members of the Planet X system seem to be arriving at the sun's corona all the time. And these of the Planet X system that seem to be arriving usually look dark, like this one we see here, making this plasma connection to the sun in this SDO image. It's dark because it is most likely a new arrival. It hasn't had enough time to gain enough atmosphere from the sun through drawing matter from the sun to be able to start emitting light from that newly acquired atmosphere. There appears to be another one of these objects here, and this one appears to be emitting light, so it's most likely been at the sun's corona for much longer. Now, as I have detailed in many previous articles, there is not much difference between planets and stars. These objects seem to be formed by galactic nucleus through the same process that causes the sun to produce the solar wind and also to have CMEs, or coronal mass ejections. These can be described as continuous matter creation events and as episodic matter creation events, but at a much larger scale. During these events, high energy photons are emitted due to electrical discharges within a region of high electric field, and as a result split into particles of opposite charge. And this is illustrated here, where a photon, which seems to have 2 particles of opposite charge within it, when it moves through an electric field, the 2 particles, because they are oppositely charged, and if the photon has high enough energy, just a little above 940 MeV, the 2 particles are likely to be a proton and an electron. And due to the fact that they are oppositely charged, the proton is positively charged, so it will tend to move in this direction, indicated by the arrow within the electric field, whilst the electron moves in the opposite direction. And that causes the photon to split into the 2 particles, and a particle creation event occurs where particles appear from within photons. And so what we have then, and this is due to the gravitational interaction, which causes protons and electrons to repel each other, so that we end up with objects that have dense, positively charged cores where protons predominate, and outer layers of mainly electrons, which are pushed away from the inner core by the gravitational interaction. So we then end up with a positive core and a negative outer layer. This establishes an electric field in the outer layers of all celestial objects, and that then causes electric discharges to occur, or lightning. And if the electric field is very high, such as it will be in large objects and energetic objects like our sun, then lots of electric discharges will occur, lots of photons will be emitted. The photons will then split into protons and electrons. The protons will then either be attracted towards the inner core or be ejected outwards and join the rings and the nebula clouds of the star. So only a star is actually energetic enough to have nebula rings and a solar wind. But planets are also able to have electric discharges or lightning. Now, these Particles, once they come from the galactic nucleus and are emitted, or the photons are emitted and split into particles, these particles will then undergo fusion and start to combine into dense cores, which will then end up as celestial objects. So basically what we have is whatever mechanism is occurring in the sun will also occur in the case of a galactic nucleus, but at a much larger scale. Then, so particles emerge, they start combining into dense cores, which will then end up as celestial objects. The largest turn into light-emitting dynamos, or stars like our sun, and the smallest, which are not able to emit as much radiation, we refer to as planets. However, as the celestial objects with a core, as all these celestial objects that have a core, and basically it seems that only what is left, like small parts, what's left of this condensing matter, which will then turn into asteroids, will not have this kind of core that generates a large amount of energy. So all the celestial objects with a core will generate energy in their cores through radioactive decay of unstable nuclei. And you may look at Article 192 entitled Neutron Stars and Fission as a Star's Internal Energy Source. This energy will allow the object to have a positively charged inner core and a negatively charged outer layer, which establishes an electric field between the core and the outer layer, which then causes electric discharges or lightning in the planet's outer layer or atmosphere. This occurs in all objects, even though we may refer to some as planets and others as stars. The fact is that the Earth, even though it is classified as a planet, also has electrical discharges or lightning in its atmosphere, and therefore emits light from its atmosphere in the same way that a star does. But a star will emit at extremely higher and more intense level than a planet would. So, but this light emission occurs in the atmospheres of celestial objects, both planets and stars. The galactic nucleus is like a huge big star, and it ejects stars, or actually it goes through episodic matter creation events like CMEs, but at a much larger scale, which causes particles to appear from within photons, and then fusion to occur, and cores to condense, and the celestial objects form. And these celestial objects, namely stars and planets, are ejected along two main directions from the galactic nucleus. Now, since the main difference between star and planet is size, and since the stellar cores found in the sun's corona are widely varying sizes, we should realize that this invading system is not just a system of dead stars, but also dead planets. In addition, since we seem to have observed so many of these objects in the sun's corona, with at least 6 being large enough for it to be extremely likely that they were once fully functioning stars, with most likely planets attached to them, an image starts to emerge that the Planet X system of stellar cores is an agglomeration of what was once several star systems that seem to have been destroyed and consumed and absorbed by the Planet X system of dead celestial objects. The objects are dead in that they are unable to generate energy in their cores anymore, and are also so depleted in electrons that they no longer have an outer layer of electrons. It is also their lack of ability to generate energy in the core that ultimately attracts them to celestial objects that can still generate energy in their core. And this is illustrated here. We basically have a stellar core that has lost its negative outer layer, although objects like the sun will still have this negative outer layer because they still generating plenty of energy in their cores. The stellar cores are no longer able to generate energy. They may still be able to generate a tiny amount of energy, but not enough to maintain a negative outer layer. And thus they will basically operate as super ions. They have a positive inner core core and a neutral outer layer. And the fact that they are positively charged means that they will be electrostatically attracted to the sun's outer negative layer, and it is thus the electrostatic attraction that will bring them in towards the sun. And the gravitational attraction they may feel for other objects will be very small, because it depends on the gravitational energy that the object is generating. And as they have stopped generating energy, this gravitational attraction will be very low. So celestial objects, stars and planets, form at the galactic nucleus, outer layer, and are then ejected outward, thus forming the galaxy spiral arms. I then thought that they would die at the outer edge of the visible part of the spiral arms and would thus not be visible in their return journey to the galactic nucleus. But this concept of a dead star encompasses only it losing the ability to emit light. However, it has become clear that simply losing the ability to emit light is not the end, and that a star and all planets, after losing the ability to generate energy in their core, which may happen millions of years after losing the ability to emit any light other than infrared radiation, also lose their gravitational field and thus the ability to attract other objects, and even the ability to attract their own outer layers of matter. In addition, dying stars also lose their outer negative layer, which changes the dynamics of which objects they will then be attracted to and how. Once the outer negative layer is lost, there will still be a positively charged inner core, and since by that time the gravitational attraction to other objects will be very low, it is the electrostatic attraction that will cause these objects to be attracted to objects that still have the ability to generate energy and thus produce a negative outer layer. Since the electrostatic interaction is much stronger than the gravitational interaction, it's about 10 to the 20 times stronger, which means it is exceedingly strong in comparison to the gravitational interaction. This would mean that these objects will be attracted from much longer distances and achieve extremely high speeds as they move toward and around objects that have attracted them. So here we see illustrated the path that these objects are supposed to take. They are ejected by the galactic nucleus, but they are gravitationally attached to the gravitational nucleus and so follow an elliptical orbit. And since it is at the edge of the spiral arms of a galactic nucleus that the light emission stops, so it seems like there are no more stars there. It seems to be that it is around this point that stars lose the ability to emit light, and after that they will eventually lose the ability to generate any gravitational energy and then will become dead stars. Now this dead process will cause stars to lose their way, so that instead of continuing to move in the initial orbit, which would take them back towards the galactic nucleus, they will simply move on to the nearest star system that is still alive, or to the nearest star system where all objects in the system are still able to generate energy in their core and that are interacting through the gravitational interaction. They are, however, still more likely to move toward the galactic nucleus, as that would be their most likely initial direction of motion, and also since star density will be greatest close to the galactic nucleus, and since the youngest stars and thus most energetic stars will also be found closest to the galactic nucleus, it is in the direction of the galactic nucleus that the Planet X system will be most likely to move in. The objects in the star system that will be attractive to the dead system may have enough energy to continue to operate in a normal way for many millions of years or even billions of years, but the dead system objects will invade it and start to draw all the gravitational energy out of these objects that they are able to generate. As they gain gravitational energy from their host, their effects on the host will increase, and they will draw more and more energy as a result. In addition, the energy loss will cause the radioactive decay in the host cores to greatly speed up, so that the energy loss will keep accelerating. And you may look at article 240 entitled Planet X System Effect on Radioactive Decay Rate and Heating of Planets. As the dead system objects gain energy, they will start gaining new atmosphere and start emitting light from these atmospheres. But because they never regain the ability to generate their own energy in their cores, they will simply continue to draw the energy from the system that is alive until no energy is left, and nearly all unstable nuclei in their cores have decayed to a stable nucleus, at which time this system of objects will be able to join the Planet X system of dead celestial objects, and together they will move on to the nearest life system. In this way, death will spread from system to system until the whole galaxy is consumed. And this is illustrated in this image, how one dead system that reaches this level of low energy depletion, where it loses its negative outer layer. It will first lose the ability to emit light and eventually loses its outer negative layer, and it becomes a stellar core. It becomes a dead object, and it will be attracted to living objects that still are able to generate energy. So this system will be attracted to other systems, will consume these systems, and will move on from system to system, and it will most likely move towards the galactic nucleus. And this will occur, and it will most likely spread out until the whole of the galaxy will be consumed. Now, the size and destructive effect of the Planet X system will thus continue to grow to the point that it may consume the galactic nucleus as well, and ultimately the whole galaxy. The galactic nucleus is basically an enormous star with a radius of about 200 AU, and like any other star, it will eventually become drained of energy as well. But what is the most important to us is that it is our solar system's turn to be destroyed and absorbed by the Planet X system. This process may take another 100 years or more to be completed. However, it is likely that it will not take nearly that long for our planet's surface to reach such a state of deterioration that it will be unable to support life. In conclusion, the Planet X system is a destroyer of star systems. It absorbs all the energy available in a star system and then absorbs the objects belonging to that system. Thus, the Planet X system will continue to grow in size and destructive ability as it makes its way toward the galactic nucleus. The solar system seems to be the current system being consumed. Ultimately, this destructive process is likely to consume the whole galaxy. Our only hope is that God, the creator of the universe, comes to our rescue. Only He can remove these objects and thus stop them from destroying our solar system. And here are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.